So today's presentation is titled, Building a Team of Champions to Create and Sustain Change. And our keynote speaker for today is Emily Cotter. Emily is the Assistant Director of Care at Nithview Community in New Hamburg, Ontario. She has been a registered nurse for the past 5 years, and she has a passion for creating problem solving and helping to propel healthcare towards a more holistic and resident family-centered care model. She and the BPSO team at Nithview Community are currently entering their 3rd year of BPSO designation and are excited to share with us today how their team is approaching BPG implementation from a creative perspective. I'm now going to pass it on to Emily.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us today. I hope that, the presentation is gone.
No worries, we'll have Andrea bring it up again. Perfect.
There we go. Awesome. So I'm going to be presenting today on building our team of champions and our experience at our home here in New Hamburg. It's been a bit of a journey, and my hope is that some of my knowledge that we've gained throughout our journey can be useful information to you. So if you have knowledge, let others light their candles in it. And I really like to live by this because I know it can be a difficult journey and it can be difficult to implement BPG in your home. And if we have some knowledge to share with you, I hope that you can get something from today's presentation. So as mentioned before, we are in our PreDesignate journey to become a BPSO organization. So we are about to enter our 3rd year. In year 1, we implemented the BPG of person and family-centered care. And in year 2, we implemented prevention of falls and reducing injury from falls. And we're currently working on preventing and addressing abuse and neglect in older adults as well. So we do have a lot of Nithview heroes that we can't do it without. This is some of our frontline staff. This was actually during our launch day when we launched our BPSO in our home, and we bought t-shirts for everyone, and they say Nithview heroes on the back. And that's been a big part of getting the buy-in from our team and getting everybody excited to implement these changes. So champion engagement is a really big part of what we do. I'm going to share a little bit later with you all of our champion roles that we have implemented recently and how they've helped us, but we do try to engage them as much as possible. And that's through simply just sending any education that comes across our desk, any information that comes through our email, we send out to our champions within our home. And they also participate in all of the virtual workshops, Champion Network webinars, even the symposium, they all attended with us. And we also try to network as much as we can within our own community. So we try to network with our Ontario Health team here in Cambridge and Kitchener-Waterloo, and especially with our IPAC hub, which has been so helpful, especially over the last 2 years as we're going through this pandemic. So I'm going to go through all of the different champion roles that we have implemented. And I'm going to go through with as much detail as I can because I did have a lot of questions regarding this when I spoke about it previously. So one of the roles that we implemented in the very beginning was the long-term care coordinator role. And this is a PSW role, but it is a full-time salary and supervisory role. This role has helped us tremendously. So the entire job of the coordinator is to focus on admissions and transfers, resident and family counsel, supporting care conferences, and all family communication. So this has been so helpful, especially throughout the pandemic, because families have that one person that is their go-to. They don't have to go around the leadership team trying to communicate with everybody. They know that they have someone who is there for them 5 days a week, full time for them to communicate with. And then we also have our PSW BPSO champion role, and that is 4 days a week. It is an hourly role. And this has been really helpful to us as well. That role involves education of staff on either an individual basis or even on a group basis, and even down to creating the education material, finding areas where we require maybe a little bit of education, creating the education, and then also helping us with implementing. We also have her focus on individualizing interventions for residents. Her focus is really that resident-centered care piece. She also will orientate new staff, and she does student support. So we implemented throughout the pandemic, we were finding that staffing is always a challenge, and we wanted to have a good transition for new staff members into our home, especially with the new programs, with the fast track programs for PSWs. We're finding that we really need to mentor and support as they're transitioning into their PSW roles now. So what we have implemented is our BPSO champion actually does an entire 8-hour orientation day with all new hires. And during that day, she's able to go over catheter care training, oxygen therapy, assisting residents with eating, lift training, and body mechanics, things like that, and also answer any questions and just give them a little bit of a slow introduction into the home. And then she also is their point person to go to if they have any questions. They know that 4 days a week, we have a PSW who is a champion here in our home that is available to them at if they have a question regarding care, or they need a little bit of support with something, she's available to support them. She also supports all of our students. So throughout the pandemic, we've been trying really hard to be creative on how we can bring new staff into our home, because we know this is a struggle everywhere in healthcare right now. So what we have found is through supporting students really well, we've been able to have a lot of those students stay. And it's kind of, the word has spread because everyone thinks that all the students keep sharing with their friends that we're a good home to do a placement at because they feel so supported. And so we have, I think right now we have 13 PSW students, which is fantastic. So her role is to support the students completely. So throughout their learning, give them that in-person point of care education. She looks for their areas of gaps, and she'll just join them on the floor, say, okay, guys, let's go, let's do this together, let's work through it. And then she can also take the time to go through education material with them or help them find resources to learn more. And she also just supports the frontline staff on a day-to-day basis. So participating in huddles and helping us if we're implementing something new, or we've noticed an area that we could do a refresher for our staff. She will go on one of her days and go to all the units and have huddles with our frontline team as well. So another role that we implemented is the continence champion role. So this is actually only 1 day a week, and it is an hourly role. But the whole job of this champion is to focus on individualizing of care related to continence. So her job is to assess, monitor, and individualize interventions. Something really cool that we've been using in our home for the last 2 years is the TENA Identify. And what it is it's actually a brief that you have a little microchip that you clip into, and it helps you to track voiding patterns. And it has been so helpful for our home, especially with residents who are at high fall risk or who have dementia and can't identify when they need to use the bathroom. We can use the TENA Identify to track their patterns and then create an individualized toileting routine and care plan for them. She also is responsible for ensuring that our residents are using the correct products. So if staff have a question or they think that a product might not be working, they can refer to this champion and she can focus in on ensuring that we're using the right products for our residents. And she also does a lot of educating with staff as well too in regards to that continence piece. So the same PSW who does our continence champion role actually also does our resident bathing champion role. And this is 2 days a week. So we actually created this role in response to our staffing problems that we encountered even before the pandemic, but especially heightened during the pandemic. We were finding that our staff were really struggling when they were short PSWs to complete all of the BATs. And of course, we know that's a very important part of care. So we came up with this role to help support that. So her whole job is to audit bathing. Every week she audits the bathing and ensures that all baths have been completed. And if there's any baths that have been missed, she will actually help to complete those baths. She also helps us with individualizing interventions. We know that PSWs are busy and they've got a lot to do during the day, but we know as well with dementia that bathing can be a difficult task at times. Bathing can be a difficult experience. So she has that extra time where she can say, you know what, guys, I'm going to bathe this resident for you guys today so I can take my time and trial some different interventions and see what works for this resident, which has really helped us to individualize that care plan as well too, because she can give that extra time. She also helps us with educating and training staff. So if we have staff who are having questions about bathing or new staff who want some training, she can support that as well. So we also have a BSO champion, which is the funded position through the BSO program, BSO Ontario. So we have a PSW and we also have a recreation therapist. So the PSW gets 2 days a week and the rec therapist gets 1 day a week to focus on their behavioral support. So their role is to assess and monitor the residents, create those individualized care plans, completing cognitive assessments and you first assessments. And then a huge piece of what they do is educating and huddling with the staff. So they have a little bit of extra time to focus on our residents that might be having personal expressions and the interventions that we have in place, but then also taking that time to remind the team or share with the team different interventions that we can trial and making sure that they're aware of our BSO interventions and providing support for that. We also have a resident care plan champion, and this has been something that we actually implemented as well. We were struggling with care plans. Our RPNs were struggling to ensure that the care plans were updated at the time of change, and we weren't catching things until they were up for review. So what we actually do now is we have an RPN that audits care plans quarterly. So we aligned it with our RIMDS schedule actually. So they are in observation for a week, and then when their assessment's being completed, we're gathering information for the care plan, and then the following week their care plan audit is due. So she completes an audit of the care plan to ensure that it was updated, is accurate. I'm going to talk a little bit later about some of our interdisciplinary teams as well, and that helps too with reviewing the care plans. So we also complete weekly wrap meetings with the frontline staff. So that's something we also implemented to help with our care plans, is we will put out cardexes also in line with the RIMDS schedule for the frontline staff to review and make notes and changes so that we can ensure that our care plans are matching the care that our staff is providing. We also have an IPAC PSW champion that we implemented actually just prior to the pandemic starting, and it has been a very useful role over the last 2 years. So she only gets 2 shifts a month, and it is an hourly position, but we have been a little bit flexible with her as well too, and if we find a need, we might ask her to come in for an additional shift. So her whole focus is that infection prevention and control, and completing those audits, hand hygiene audits, watching staff, making sure they're washing residents' hands, doing follow-up with staff if it's required, and also educating staff on those IPAC requirements. So she has also helped us a lot if we have to go into a suspect outbreak or we like to respond. If we think there may be a risk of exposure, we will put interventions in place right away, and she'll come in and help us implement that, get all of the PPE out on the floor, do refreshers with staff to ensure they're using PPE correctly. So we do have quite a few interprofessional teams as well, and I'm going to talk a little bit later about how we've involved all of our champions and how we collaborate with all of them. But we do have a fall prevention team, and that was something we implemented when we started doing our fall prevention best practice guideline. And it's very helpful. We have a PSW with a restorative care PSW, physiotherapist, RN, and nurse practitioner all involved in this team, and they meet monthly to review our falls and ensure that we have all of the interventions, and we've done all of the chart reviews and reviewing the residents' needs and making sure their interventions are met, their needs are met. And then we can disseminate that knowledge out from there and refer to our different champions if we find that there is a need during those meetings. We also have a skin and wound champion team, which involves an RPN, a nurse practitioner, and RN, who all collaborate with our more to help with our more complex wounds within our home. So it is a pretty strong team. They meet once a month to review the wounds and complete an audit, see where we're at, and if our interventions are working and we're improving, or if maybe we need to do a little bit of a review and change our interventions. We also have the BSO champion team, which has a recreation aid, an RPN, and a PSW, and they are forever working together. There's never a dull moment in our home. They are always looking to create new interventions for our residents and individualize that care. And then we have our IPAC champion team, which most homes have, and this has been really helpful throughout the pandemic. We have a pretty big team. We involve PSWs, our RN, RPN, and the senior leadership team, including our housekeeping department manager and our kitchen a dietary manager, so that we can ensure we're all on the same page and we complete our IPAC reviews together to make sure that we're not missing any gaps. We also include our public health liaison in these quarterly reviews. We've been doing them at least quarterly, and anytime there's a change in the direction or we feel that there may be a need to heighten our IPAC interventions, we'll call the team together and do a full IPAC review with public health present so that we can ensure we're meeting the needs. We also have a long-term care BPSO liaison and support team. So that is essentially me and all of my champions. And our role is to support our BPG implementation. And because we can't do it alone, we all know that as leaders, it's good to have good intentions, but the more support we have, the better outcomes we have, the more we can share our job, and the more we can support our team and mentor our team, the easier our job actually becomes. And we also have a health and safety committee, of course, and we do have quite a few champions on that committee as well. So what we found through implementing champions in our homes is really champions develop champions. We started the ball rolling, and just by mentoring and supporting and inspiring our champions, we have been blown away with the amount of champions that have come out of our team and the people who have been willing to be involved. And we've seen even team members who maybe they were just coming to work, doing their day, doing a good job while they were here and going home, and they re-sparked that inspiration in them to be leaders and be part of the change and be more engaged with our team. We did struggle a little bit with our creation and implementation, and I want to share a little bit about that because I have had questions when I've spoke about this before about how did we actually implement all of these champion roles. It's great to share with you all of our roles that we have, but I am not going to lie and say that it was the most easy process. We did have to spend quite a bit of time and energy achieving buy-in and collaboration with our union. So we are unionized in our home, and we have a very good relationship with our union. We are usually very transparent, but we did struggle because we really wanted to award these champion positions based on skill and not on seniority, because they are more of a leadership role. So that's where we ended up struggling. We really had to be transparent and communicate everything with the union and just collaborate because we have the same goals, but we had to spend a lot of time in this phase. So we did create the job description that had to go back and forth for all of these roles, go back and forth with the union quite a few times and make sure that we could agree. And then what we did to make it equitable is we had interviews. So we actually created interview questions that were very specific to the roles so that we could give everyone an equal opportunity to be interviewed, answer the questions, and that's how we awarded the position, was based on the interview and interview responses. So then we awarded the positions, and then the work really began where we needed to start mentoring, training, and providing education. And that job gets easier and easier. You mentor in the beginning, and all of a sudden they're coming to you and teaching you things. So we do have a lot of interdisciplinary collaboration that we do in our home. And this is what I was talking about a little bit before. And I want to share this with you because this is how we engage our champions and bring them all together and use them to our best ability. So we have something in our home that we call weekly quality rounds. And that is something that we implemented a few years ago. And it's a meeting that we have weekly and it's based on our RIMDS schedule. So what we do is in those meetings, we have the nurse practitioner, all of our champions, myself, and our RI champion present, and we go over all of the residents who just completed their MDS assessment, and we look at their outcome scores, we look at them compared to last quarter to this quarter, and we go over all of the different aspects of care to ensure that, has there been a change? What are our current interventions? Are our interventions effective? Do we need to introduce new interventions? And so we bring the whole champion team together and we just stop and say, okay, let's look at this resident. What are we doing for them? What are their needs? And what can we do better? Another meeting that we have as well is our monthly fall meetings with our fall team. So what we do during those meetings is we actually review all of our residents who are having falls, and we review all of the interventions. We take the time to stop with our nurse practitioner and we do a full chart review to see, are our interventions effective? Is there something we could be doing better? Do we need to implement pain scales for a couple weeks and see if we are meeting their pain needs and addressing their pain, etc. We also have quarterly PAC meetings, and that we also have started including our champions in these meetings so that they can see the behind the scenes as well too, and see that quality piece and how we actually review our quality indicators and see how we're trending and see the outcome of their hard work and see how it's actually impacting us on a higher level. So that is just communicating, collaborating together, and then we can we also have quarterly palliative committee meetings that we struggled to keep going throughout the pandemic, actually, but we have just restarted, and we have our champions all participate in that as well. And antipsychotic reduction meetings, same, we also have champions, we include as many as we can, and monthly registered staff meetings, and then also we started bi-monthly PSW and RSA staff meetings as well. And of course, we also like to have fun. So this is actually something that one of our champions came up with during the pandemic. We obviously couldn't have as many activities or the same types of activities we had pre-COVID. So we actually took an old electronic scooter and we converted it into an ice cream truck for our ice cream days. And every Tuesday we would drive around playing ice cream truck music and delivering ice cream to the residents. At this time, it's actually been also converted into a tractor because we are a rural home. And we had a lot of gentlemen who were so appreciative. We converted it into a John Deere tractor. And we are actually right now converting it into the Polar Express so that we can go around the unit as well and share hot chocolate with marshmallows with our residents as well. It's been a really, really fun part of having our champions to have that a little bit of extra time to be creative, and we support them being creative. So some of the challenges we encounter, I do want to review. We have had, when I spoke about this previously in a presentation, I did get a lot of questions about the challenges. So I did talk a little bit about the collaboration with the union and how we did struggle there. We also did struggle as well to determine the wage in collaboration with the union. And what we ended up coming up with is, to be fair, we did have to make these roles temporary roles. So they are not permanent. They only they're annual. So every year we do have to repost the role and we do have to go through the hiring process again. And that was just something we agreed on to ensure that it was fair and equitable for all the employees, that everyone would have the opportunity to apply for these roles and be considered as well. And then we did not want to award by seniority, like I said before. So we were able to agree on, if we make it an annual role that we can repost every year, we could hire by skill set. So some of the other challenges that we have also encountered, and I know this isn't something unique to our home, is staffing shortages. And with the staffing shortages, we have often been required to pull our champions off of their champion days to work in the neighborhoods. And so that has definitely impacted us with their ability to complete their champion roles if they are being pulled frequently. And of course, with the high staff turnover rates, it changes so frequently whether we are going to have a full staffing cohort, and then we might go through a little spell where we're short again until we can get some more people in. So it has been a little bit unpredictable. And of course, navigating the COVID-19 pandemic has been difficult as well. We have struggled to have time to mentor and support our champions throughout the pandemic, only because even our leadership team, we've actually had to step away from our leadership roles a couple times and help to cover on the units with our staffing troubles. So it is hard at times to prioritize that time to mentor and support our champions. But we've seen incredible results when we do have the ability to give that time and stop and really support and mentor, and then we can have them be independent, and it's incredible the things that they are able to accomplish. So we also, of course, want to plan to engage and sustain our champions. So we have seen incredible results through creating these champion roles, and they have actually helped us so much with our sustaining change, especially since we have had quite a few of these roles in place for a year or so now. We've kind of got all of the kinks ironed out, and we have a lot of leaders, and they're able to be really independent, which has been so helpful for our leadership team as well too, that we have these champions that we can trust, and they are so helpful. They take some of the load off of us, and things don't fall through the cracks anymore. So we also have all of them participate in our champion workshops, such as today, and our BPG Institute, as well as the symposium. They do all come with us. We also have them do a lot of presentation and dissemination activities, even within our home. So when we're learning things and we're attending these education sessions, or we're attending these knowledge exchanges where we're getting information from other homes and seeing how other homes are doing things, we have our champions make sure they're disseminating that knowledge with our team and supporting our team and encouraging our team. And they also participate in all of our gap analyses. So we've seen a really big impact through engaging our champions in every stage of the process. It helps them to be inspired and continue to be inspired, and they feel a part of the change, and they also can see some of the results of their hard work. So we do our gap analyses together with all of the champions for the resident family-centered care, falls, and prevention and neglect. And that's been really helpful as well. Sometimes they have ideas that we would never even think of. And we also have been starting to integrate the new Leading Change Toolkit in our home. We have been finding it really, really helpful, especially as we've been reviewing a bunch of our gap analyses recently, and we have identified some areas for change. I did have 4 of our champions attend the Leading Change Toolkit information sessions so that they were informed and they have a little bit of experience with the tool so that we can use this going forward. So now we will move to questions and comments.
Oh, wow, Emily, thank you so much for that fascinating presentation. I mean, I must say that I'm impressed with the home's commitment to developing champions, to formalizing the role, just the level of commitment and passion and accountability to really put in individuals who are in the front line in the driver's seat when it comes to quality improvement. So it's fantastic. Thank you so much.
No
Is there any questions that people had? You did get, when you were talking about the ice cream truck and adapting it based on the season, there was a lot of great comments from that. They were saying it's so great, such a cute idea. I'm sure the residents love this. Very creative and lots of good information on the champion roles making the difference. They would love to see pictures of the adaptations. Just go down and on.
Absolutely. I know I need to get some photos.
Okay, I have one question here. How did you get financial support for the roles?
Very good question. So it is something that we actually had to work on. We had to get that buy-in with our HR and our CFO as well. We talked about it and we talked about our goals. We had these goals for a couple years, and it was just a lot of planning. How can we afford to plan for this in our budget? So I would suggest engaging with your team, including your HR team and your financial team, and saying, listen, how could we make this happen? Or even how could we start? So we did not implement all of these roles at once. It was a very long and slow process of trial and error as well. You know, we would implement, okay, we can afford right now to implement 1 day a week. Let's put it in our budget. And then for next year, let's plan, maybe we can do 2 days a week. And we just kind of slowly evolved until we were able to show our team, and especially our financial team, how valuable these roles were and actually how much impact they had on our home. And now we have buy-in from our financial team as well too, to keep the roles.
That's an amazing accomplishment. And I was just wondering, so obviously there was some monitoring and evaluation of the roles in order to be able to further promote the impact and the value and the financial investment in the roles. If you were to choose one role that had the most impact, which one would it be?
I would, without a doubt, say that the BPSO PSW champion role has by far been the most impactful role. So that is the role that she supports our students, she supports new staff, and she supports our PSWs. She has been so incredible, especially throughout the pandemic, to help us, even with the IPAC as well, IPAC support, reviewing things with our staff. She has that extra time to find our needs and our gaps within our team and focus in on that and spend the time right at the point of care, helping our team and supporting them.
Amazing, thank you. And there is another question here. Yes, the webinar will be recorded, so no worries about that. And another question is, how was it decided that a PSW would fulfill the champion role over RPN or RN? Example, the long-term care coordinator or BPSO champion role.
For sure. So we actually posted, it was also a financial question as well. Originally, the long-term care coordinator role actually was an RPN role, and we did just have one of our PSWs apply for it and be accepted into the role. So it was initially, we did plan for it to be paid at an RPN wage. For the PSW role, we really wanted someone who was a PSW champion. So it was always a plan for us to have that be a PSW role, because we needed someone who knows our frontline, knows our staff, knows what it's like on the floor, and knows our home really well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And as you were saying, you hire based on skill and just to make it equitable, because the entire team and as I see, you have a lot of interprofessional engagement in the champion role as well as on the team. So it definitely is a team effort in regard to maintaining that person and family centered care and that quality improvement.
Absolutely. And I would,
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I know it is a process that takes some time, and we were in the same spot as other homes as well. Like, how do we financially support this? And how do we plan to implement this? I would honestly say somewhere to start is by engaging with your team, inspiring your team and inspiring champions without even having the roles yet. We have been blown away with how willing our team is to participate. You know, we did not expect as much interest as we did, but through just giving that time to inspire our team and engage them and invite them in, we have had so many team members that aren't in our champion roles want to be champions as well.
Wow, that's amazing, because I was going to ask about the motivation and how people were inspired to be able to engage and apply for these positions. And even if you're not in these formal positions, to build informal change agents and champions as well.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it comes down to the leadership itself. So within our leadership team, being really open and transparent with our team and being supportive, being available and say, listen, guys, this is where we want to go. And look how exciting this is. Like, we can do this. We can be a home that can implement this, and we need your help. We know we need your help. Come help us. And just that invitation and being so open and upfront right about it, and being out on the units, supporting our team and getting them inspired really helped a lot as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. So support from leadership, support through these champions roles where they're building capacity and supporting the frontline staff. It's there's a lot of engagement there, and I'm sure helps with recruitment and retention. And you were talking about students as well, and how the word has gotten out about how fantastic the mentorship and the support is in the home. So congratulations.
Absolutely. And we even actually, another thing that I guess I didn't have in the presentation is what we did is we actually talk about our BPSO program and becoming a champion when our new staff are onboarded. So we actually share with them right then and there about our program and what we're trying to do and how excited we are about it, and encourage them to become a champion as well, right from day one.
Yeah. No, that's a fantastic sustainability strategy, and part of many strategies that you've used. And I love the infusion of the creativity, and the staff are given the autonomy to think outside the box. And it sounds like the initiative that's taken by champions and staff to be able to continue to contribute to quality improvement.
Yeah, we have been so blown away. I know I've said that a few times, but honestly, our staff have seriously surprised us by just giving them that support to be independent and have ideas and be a part of the change. They've blown us away.
Amazing. Well, you've definitely gotten a lot of positive comments here. Shyla is saying, very nice, Emily. Congratulations to your champions and support from your management team at Nithview. Lisa Reed, DOC, Nancy Eros, ED, and also your CEO, Stephen Harrison. So she knows the home well.
Yes, we are a bit of a unique team. We're a little bit of a crazy team, but we all have kind of grown from within as well too, from Nithview, which I think helped. We all worked on the units before we became leaders, so that might help a little bit as well too, with us being able to engage with our team and knowing their needs, understanding their needs.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of great value and brings credibility to your roles, and that once you're in a position of leadership, you'll leverage your being in their shoes and being able to support them in ways that you yourself would have wanted to be supported when you were in the front line. So the people here say lifting up a cup of good cheer and great leadership. Front lines are dedicated and committed, and just great presentation.
Thank you. And I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone as well. I know we're in the crunch season and it's busy. I hope you can't hear my jingle bells because I'm wearing bells in my hair.
Well, thank you so much. And is there any other final questions before we close up? And very inspiring, people are saying, and the fact that you incorporate quality indicators, and for multiple reasons. So to be able to measure the impact that the formal champion roles are having in terms of different clinical outcomes, as well as be able to gather information to continue to support these roles financially. I think the multiple ways in which you've been able to utilize that data and also share it to be able to inspire and to be able to motivate staff. Okay. There's one more question if you have a moment.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Did you use any particular change management or quality improvement framework to engage staff?
So we are using the Leading Change Toolkit now. But we did also use, just involving them in our gap analyses. That was probably the most formal framework that we did use to engage our champions prior to the Leading Change Toolkit. I would highly recommend the Leading Change Toolkit though. It has been really valuable, and it's a really good starting place as well too, to help you get started with that change.
That's amazing. And I'm just curious because you've been delving into the new Leading Change Toolkit. And is there certain areas, obviously you know very well about the knowledge to action, and it's a social movement action. And I can see that you and the staff are using principles of social movement action. Is there anything that stood out to you in terms of the Leading Change Toolkit so far that you would like to utilize in your continued journey?
That's a very good question. And you know what? I think I would like to utilize the social action framework a little bit more as well to the social movement. We could definitely be better with that, and using more, provocative and using engaging people and finding ways to inspire our staff even more. We definitely struggle throughout the pandemic to engage as much as we would like to. I mean, we'd love to be out on our units every day. So that's something that we are going to start focusing on a little bit in the new year, is finding ways to engage our team a little bit more outside of our champions, because our champions are great with engaging our team, but we want to start engaging more of our team. We engage our champions on a regular basis. But we have room for improvement for sure.
Well, it's an ongoing journey, and I'd say you're on a fantastic trajectory. So congratulations, and please send our regards to your team and congratulate them for all of their fantastic work. If there isn't any other questions, just want to wrap up here today. A copy of today's presentation and webinar recording will be posted on RNAO's website. It's definitely a webinar well worth sharing with others. Please fill out the evaluation survey. We want to continue to know what kinds of topics and what resonates with you as champions, speaking to other champions. And if you have any questions, please contact Andrea Stubbs, who is the project lead, as I had said, of the Champions Program, at astubbs@rnao.ca. So thank you so much, Emily, for sharing your experiences and expertise. I must say it's been fantastic. And it looks like Charlotte has posted also that the work of Nithview Champions on fall prevention story is also available on the long-term care toolkit. So it's just one of many ways that I'm sure, Emily, that you're using and champions are using to disseminate the word and able to share the lessons learned. So have a great happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everyone. And we'll see you again in the new year.